Brutal here at the 250th YCS, largest event ever in a while. 3,200 players up here in Los Angeles. My goodness. But whoa, please introduce yourself to the world, man.
Hey, I'm Jude Paris, and I'm a 13 in Swiss and top 32 playing Punk.
Punk? Again, welcome back on the channel, man. So what made you decide to keep playing this deck?
The matchups with this deck across the board, they're all just okay. You don't have any bad matchups, but you don't really have any good matchups, and every other deck I feel doesn't have that. So I just decided to settle with this.
Okay, sweet. Any shout outs before we begin?
A lot of shout outs. Shout outs everybody in Houston. Shout outs the immediate squad, p.u.n.k Productions, Aaron Nagesh, Musa, the homies, always down to like test until like 3 a.m. Shout out all the Houston people here, Juan, Zach, Julian, Alex Cancel, and everybody else in Houston that I miss. Y'all know who you are. I appreciate every single one of you.
Let's go. Without further ado, please show us the top 64 moves.
Okay, so it's a 42 card main deck because I just could not make concessions in this list this time. But starting off with the Punk engine, we play 3 Zay, 3 Ogre Dance, 3 Foxy Tune. These cards, your starters, they let you access everything in your engine. And this actually, it came up like once, but Ogre Dance is actually kind of a cheeky out to a Rise Heart or a way to force the Rise Heart effect. So if you go normal Zay, Tribute, Zay, Special Ogre, the Rise Heart is a mandatory activation, so you can chain the Ogre Dance to gain the 3k attack. So it kind of forces them to like use the banish, otherwise this will take care of it. But that's like very niche in weird game states that comes up, but you know, a little neat interaction. Then we have the other Punk monsters. We have 2 Deer Note, Sharakusai, 1 Wagon, 1 Spider, same ratios as last time. I was thinking about bumping this to 2 again, but decided last minute that I couldn't because we are at 42 and I just cannot find the space. Deer Note kind of bricked for me a lot all day, so I would be open to bumping 1 name up, probably one of these 2, just so that way if I draw it, because if you draw Deer Note with like 2 names, then you can go, but if you draw Deer Note 1 name, unless you have like a normal summon like Hand Trap Tuner, you're probably just dead in the water. Searches Trap, Searches Spell, Fusion, Synchro on opponent's turn, res back from graveyard when it's sent to graveyard from field. Spells, 3 E-Telly, most broken card in the deck. Not only does it summon the Punk monsters, but it also summons Gamma, and you have a lot of level 8, so this lets you access Baron easily. And then the last 2 spells, 2 of the field spell. Wish I could play 3. This card is Pot of Greed. Up to twice per turn, if you activate a psychic monster effect, pay life points to activate a psychic monster effect, you can draw a card. And then soft once per turn, banish a Punk card from your graveyard to special summon a Punk from your hand. It's a brick, but like it's also your pot card, so if you see this with like any Punk name, you're just off to the races usually. And then the last engine card, the Dangerous Gabu. This is the Imperm. I was debating on playing the Pop this weekend, but the Pop is dead if you don't have Punks on board, so the Imperm is always just a safer bet. 1 call by. This is in there. This was, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have played it, but it did come in clutch. You do lose to a lot of different hand traps. You lose to Droll. You lose to the very well-timed Ash. Everything else doesn't really matter. Imperms and, not Imperm, but Veilers and the other Ghost Sister that negates doesn't really matter. You can play through those easily, but the Ash hurts a lot, and the Droll can kill you. Okay. So, same with Shifter. Then we played 3 Fenrir. I was citing this last time, but through testing, a lot of testing at locals, I found out that Fenrir is just insane. Sometimes you'll brick, you won't draw any hand traps, you'll just open up Fenrir with a, my bad, you won't draw any engine, but you'll open up Fenrir with a bunch of hand traps and you'll just play Fenrir, beat down, Fenrir control, and that's really nice. There are other times too where you'll go Fenrir or normal summon your hand traps and make a Baron in a simplified game state, and that's enough to win you the game too. So 3 Fenrir was nice. I just really wanted to draw it. So I wanted to see this card every opening hand going first or going second, so I decided to just max out. What's really nice with this too is if you open up Fenrir with like 2 Punk names, you can usually combo under the Baron. And something I noticed this format is not a lot of decks are putting up Omni Negates. So if you're ending on like your standard end board with the Omni Negate on top of that, that's usually enough to seal the deal. as well as, like I said earlier, making an Omni Negate in a simplified game state or towers in a simplified game state is just game. Then 2 talents, these are okay. They did their job. I can't really complain about this card. You don't have to run it. Like, if you were to cut a card like and move this to sideboard, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. 3 evenly. I feel like this is required in every main deck this format. The boards are just too crazy. You have to play this. It forces too much stuff. Just, you gotta run it. Even if you go go first and you draw it, you just pick shit off of like Foxy Tune or hold it. Because if they break your board, using this on the clapback is just insane. Then the hand traps. We played a lot. 3 Imperm, 3 Gamma, the 1 Driver, 3 Ash, 2 Droll, and 1 Ghost Ogre. Honestly, I wish I played more hand traps instead of the tactics, but these worked out fine. This is searchable through your combo lines with punks. So if you open up like one of the extra names that you're going to search along the combo, then you could just search this instead. Against Cash, I usually search this out because this destroys Birth. This is good into Sprite because it just hits it's good into the Adventure Sprite because it hits the Adventure Engine stuff. Also, it's gigantic. No one ever really expects the Ogre, so like when I drew this game 1 against people, it really caught them off guard, and man, like ogring them in a place where they didn't expect to get Ogre ended a lot of turns for me. Droll probably should have been played at 3. I can't think of there was only 1 deck today where this was dead game 1, and that was Labyrinth. But every other matchup I played today, Droll did something. So I probably should have ran 3. Gamma was insane. Gamma, Ash Imperm, the staples, everybody runs them. We don't have to talk about these. But this card carried in this deck. There are so many times today where I bricked, I forced the activation on the opponent's turn, resolved the Gamma, and went into my 8 Synchro, which searched Zeaman, and then I was just able to play from there. This card just applies so much pressure on like different things, and the best part is some people, they need certain parts in their combo to resolve, so they'll Ash the Gamma and it just stays in hand, and they will just be so afraid to like, you know, expand their board, and like, you know, you might only have the Gamma, they could probably play through it, but because they're just afraid of it, they just don't go in. So that was nice. 42 cards, extra deck. So we played 2 Jam Dragon, 2 Yugioh, Amazing Dragon, and 2 Punisher. So this card, probably the card I made in the extra deck the most. It's part of all your standard lines. It searches a level 3 Psychic, and a lot of people don't know the Graveyard effect, to where if you respond to a punk card's effect or activation, you can special summon it from the yard. I actually had a couple games where my opponents, I would set up this with the Sharakusai, do the Sharakusai effect to Synchro on their turn, summon this, and I would go chain link 1 of the field spell, draw chain link 2, this to bounce. They would respond to this, and then in the new chain, this would activate in the graveyard. I'd be able to special this out, get another search, so I would search for like Ghost Ogre, and then I would get another draw for the field spell. So I didn't actually force, I know I talked about at Louisiana how it was Psychic End pass, but truly today, I made Psychic End, like out of the 12 rounds of Swiss and the 1 round of top 64 that I played, I probably summoned Psychic End like 5 times. It just wasn't the move today. But making the bounce today was really fun, really nice for me. Next up, we have our 2 level 10s. So I talked about that card being the MVP. Well, most summon Synchro the level 8, but this, Baron clutched me so many games today. Baron was insane. I was always trying to make a Baron turn 1 or have a Baron for clapback, because like I said earlier, with the E-Telly, you can E-Telly out the Gamma with your level 8s to make the Baron if you need to, and Fenrir plus any of the punk, level 3 punk names makes the Baron. Baron just did a lot of work for me. The pop effect is insane, the negate is insane. The negate is everything. The tag out, if you burn a negate, back into the Fenrir, so now they have to fight through the Fenrir again. Really solid card. Cheng Ying didn't come up, still good, but just didn't come up. Draco Berserker never came up. Unicorn never came up. Lambda was good because I had a couple times where like if I went uninterrupted, my end board would be like a Lambda Baron with like it would either be like Lambda Baron or it would be Lambda with the Sharakusai and the level 8 synchro. So like I feel like I have all things covered. It sucks to do that board against the cash matchup, but against everything else, Sword Soul, Despia, whatever, that end board just really nice. Just backed up with hand traps, of course. And our last link monster, Ausa. This card really nice against cash. I didn't take a lot of Fenrirs with it today, but I did take a lot of Scareclaw Kashtiras. Take their 7, make Baron. So Asa was pretty good. Sometimes you'd have like bad hands where you would end on an Asa, or not end on an Asa, but make an Asa, crash it, search the Zeaman, summon the Zeaman, and then combo off from there. So there's that. Our 2 rank 8s that we never summon, but they're there just in case. Hope Harbinger is just probably the best one next to Felgrand or the number 90. Honestly, the only reason I did not play those other 2 is because I don't have them in Europrint. Ding is always helpful. I have no out to Avermax. If someone makes an IP Avermax, this is my only out. And all the Sprite players at my locals do that to me. So I was just kind of, I just can't cut that card for that reason. And then the one Rising Carp. So I never, today and yesterday, I did not go for the 1 card Zeaman combo. It just never came up to where I had to do it, like going first, that is. Like going first, playing into the board, the Zeaman, going to this, the combo that loses to Ash. But I did end up using this a lot for its second effect to give a monster 2 attacks. Because what I ended up doing a lot was I would make this, and then I would synchro it away to summon this, get the bounce, and then target this, so I would be able to swing for 3k twice. That's the main extra. Side deck's a little wonky, but it worked out. First up, 3 Judgment. So one of the reasons I started citing this is at locals I lost a mirror match to a Gold Pride Punk player. They flipped a Judgment on me, and the life point deficit became too huge to where I could not out the Punisher. So I figured Judgment would be good for that. Plus it's a catch-all. My theory with this format is you want to throw the widest net possible to deal with the most amount of decks. And sometimes just a well-timed Judgment going first, doesn't matter if you're a trap deck or not, can just end the game. So Judgment was really nice when I drew it, when I decided going first. I think that's my only card deciding going first. The rest are like going second cards. So we have our Thrust package. I was citing 2 Thrust, but I cut it down to 1. This is Thrust. This is Thrust basically equals 2 copies of any of these cards. I didn't see any of these this weekend. I only saw the Thrust. Didn't play a lot of trap. I played 1 Labyrinth, so I only sided this in once. Change of Heart, I sided it in, never drew it. Every time I was thrusting, I was never thrusting for the Change of Heart. I was always thrusting for tactics. So moving forward, these were kind of lackluster, but like, you know, on paper they worked. Last event they worked. Locals they worked. So I don't know whether they changed it or not. 3 Nib. A lot of the Kashtira players play around this card, but I still feel like it's a necessity to run because sometimes you'll be able to force them into a Nib or force other decks into Nib. It's okay against Branded, I guess. Like, you Nib them, but they still have their back row, so it's lackluster against that. But against Rogue, Nib slaughters them. So I felt it was still necessary to side. Since the format is too diverse right now, you need cards like Nib and Droll. You need to main one of them and then at least side the others. 2 Bell. This was for Labyrinth and Branded. I did not play a single Branded player all day. I did play 1 Labyrinth. Did not draw the Ghost Bell against them, but I did draw double Ash, so I guess they did the same thing. It was okay. I'd probably keep it in the side because there were a ton of Branded here today. So in the event that you do run into them, the Bell is nice. And then the last hand trap is the 3rd Droll. Should have mained it, but it is what it is. And then finally, the last 2 cards in my side deck, 2 Kaijus. I was looking for a spot to help me with Kashtira going second. I probably, in hindsight, should have played 3. This probably could have cut a Nib down to 2 and played 3 of this because I didn't find myself siding in Nib a lot. And most of the time when I did side in the Nib, I only sided in 2. My side deck patterns were really weird this weekend. But the Gamma Seal was nice when I drew it, being able to just get rid of the big body, the threatening monster. Even if it's just removing one piece of removal or interaction. So you look at your opening hand and you're just like, I can play through this, but that third interaction or that second interaction, it stops me. So just being able to trade immediately for that is worth it. -1, but like, you know, it's just really good.
Hey, yo, congrats on making top 64, man. And thank you again for being on the channel.
All right, thank you for having me.
No problem. And until next time, everyone, Mortal out.